This episode of the PC Perspective Podcast is brought to you by WhisperSync for Voice, an Amazon and Audible innovation, allowing you to read on your tablet and when it's time to go, pick up where you left off by switching to audio and listening on your phone. Learn how at amazon.com/PCPer. Hey everybody, welcome to the PC Perspective Podcast. This is episode 372, being recorded on October 21st, 2015. I'm Ryan Shrout.
I'm Jeremy Hellstrom.
I'm Alan Malentano.
I'm Sebastian Peak.
And I totally almost jacked up that intro because I was thinking about all of the stuff that I just read in that ad open that you already heard. Everybody already heard, both in the live version and on the pre-recorded version and on the video version. So there's that. Welcome to the show, everybody. It has been another week. It is now October 21st, as I said before. Next week will be the 28th.
Back to the Future Day was today.
35th. It was Back to the Future Day. I'm wearing my Back to the Future shirt.
I'm close.
No.
That's close.
I'm wearing my Back to the Future shirt.
What is it?
It looks like a DeLorean.
It does not.
Doesn't.
Yeah,
looks like a Scirocco.
Well, that's close to a DeLorean.
I'm wearing my Back to the Future shirt. It is of Marty McPrime. It is a transformer of a DeLorean.
All right.
I got separate compliments on my shirt today.
Yeah, but then we watched a video of some weird guy wearing your exact shirt, and so that kind of killed us some. Yeah. I have seen that one before, right? What is yours? Is the DeLorean
Crashing into a TARDIS.
Into a TARDIS, yeah. Which is still a funny name, by the way.
TARDIS. Yeah.
So is DeLorean.
It doesn't.
Just a guy's name.
Yeah.
But only one of them was a crack-fueled drug dealer coming up with a car.
That's true.
Okay. All right. I mean, it only
they both involve Britain.
We saw a video today of a DeLorean that was what was it? It was a self-driving electric DeLorean that did donuts. Yeah, that's kind of what its function was, apparently.
Oh, okay.
So it's like if you wanted
automated Allyn.
If you wanted to design something to just ruin tires, that's what you would do. Right, that's pretty much it. Welcome to the show, everybody. We do record live on Wednesday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. You can come watch us record the show, interact before and after, see all the stuff that we cut out of it, because there's a lot that gets cut out, right, Ken?
Like
lots get cut.
Minutes left on the cutting room floor.
Okay.
All the good stuff we actually cut out, so that only the live people get it. That's at pcper.com/live. And if you need a reminder, you can go to pcper.com/subscribe, where you can find this page here that asks basically just for your name and email address. There we go. And we'll send you an email an hour, 2 hours before we actually get to start the podcast, give you a little reminder and say, hey, come on in and join us. Now, if you get back to my shot, we're suddenly missing a person. He left. He apparently thought I was going to talk about the subscribe page for minutes on end, but that's fine.
You don't do that every week or anything.
No, yeah, for sure. He's swapping hardware, and he'll be back in a little bit. We're going to talk about some stuff real quickly. We're going to go over Maury's review of the MSI Z170A X-Power Gaming Titanium Edition motherboard. That's a lot of things to say. The Z170A X-Power Gaming Titanium Edition. Why is it Titanium Edition? Because of this. This is what the motherboard looks like.
Titanium.
I don't know. Looks kind of grayish to me.
Titanium.
I mean, what do you guys? I mean, what do you guys think?
It's a nice look.
Is it odd? It's definitely unique, but is it good, unique, bad, unique?
I think that's a better color to bounce different colored LEDs off of.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because if you have pure white,
a Motherboard.
Like pure white really just looks like white with an LED hitting it.
Yeah.
When you light it up, but a gray like that will just like become that color, right?
Okay.
So yeah, it's a good idea.
It definitely stands out from the crowd. Go ahead, Jeremy.
I was going to say that people like Maury that like modding cases, and especially so you can see the components, like Al says, is the perfect background for going crazy on.
Yeah, it even makes the individual chips on the motherboard stand out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So a nice black contrast.
It's a Z170 motherboard. It's a Skylake board. It's a high-end board there. You can see some of the display outputs. You've got 2 HDMI outputs, display port. You've got 6 USB 3.0. I think 2 of those are USB 3.1. They're USB 3.1 Gen 1, which basically means nothing, right? Like there's still is that still 5 gigabits per second?
Yeah.
It's still 5 gigabits, but I think it can do the video stuff in theory.
Okay.
Oh.
All right.
don't know.
Gigabit networking, courtesy of the killer Nick. I believe this. No, this one doesn't. This is not one of the ones that has wireless on it. 4 PCI Express 3.0 by 16 slots, so it does support 8444. So you could, in theory, run
Quad?
quad GPU. Although I would bet.
I mean, doesn't that not... Well, I guess it's 3.0 by 4, which is still pretty quick.
You can't do SLI.
You can't do
on
SLI.
by 4,
You can do
correct?
Crossfire, but
Oh.
you can't do SLI. You can only do SLI if you have one of those bridge chips.
Because it needs
In
8
there.
lanes.
Whether or not it needs it or not,
It just won't work
it
without
won't
8
work
lanes.
without
before.
it. Correct. So we'll go through a little bit. Here's the. So those were promo pictures. These are the pictures Maury actually took. So here, to me, it's a slightly different shade of gray.
I think the board's the same, but the heat sinks look more white.
Yeah, the heat sinks look
Yeah.
more white.
Yeah.
On the previous page, they kind of look like they were the same color,
Yeah, they did look like they
but
were
they're
the same
definitely
color.
not here. And you can see the back. It's kind of interesting to see the white on the back of the PCI Express and the DIMM slots as well. Now, obviously, that's not a big deal for what you're doing, right? You're not going to see the back of that stuff. 2 of the 4 PCI Express slots have that retention mechanism that we saw. I think it was a Gigabyte motherboard that had that last time. I think it adds to the look as well as to the function, so that's always a plus. Even like the silk screening stands out quite a bit more on that background color.
It just really helps it.
Which is pretty nice. You got Audio Boost 3 on here. We've got support for M.2 towards the bottom of the PCIe slots there, which is interesting.
That's good.
Full length support there. You got a lot of integrated buttons. The OC button. Look, that dragon looks familiar. The dragon looks familiar. It's almost like it's on the back of this laptop I'm currently using.
Yeah.
Enough SATA ports, but it's not like a deluge of it. Again, this is an A class board, like Z170A, so it's not weighed down with a whole bunch of extra stuff, but it is going to be quite capable and overclocking friendly. And of course, we got to look here at the CPU cooler fit page on any Maury motherboard review with our tan. Would you call this tan and mocha? No.
It's like a tan and brown, I think.
Yeah.
Like a maroon.
Yeah.
No, not really.
Not
I
your
guess
color.
it's
They
more
have,
brown.
they have one with maroon.
It's
Oh,
dark
black.
brown and light brown is what I'm going to call it.
Shades of brown.
Shades of brown coolers.
Just as there are many shades of gray, there are also many shades of brown.
I don't know of any of the shades of gray, actually. So
There's like at least 30 or 40 shades of gray, I think.
yeah,
I
but
actually
I've
know a
read.
few of them.
I think the exact number is 37
Okay.
shades of gray.
I've heard 50, but I think that's just like tabloid stuff.
Yeah, it's in all the
They're
smart
exaggerating
movies.
for effect.
Yeah.
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 Yeah,
They made
for
a
sure.
movie about it. Just
Yeah.
So there's some other accessories here. You get this OC dashboard that you can plug into, and it'll add extra buttons, so they didn't have to put all these buttons on the main motherboard PCB, which is nice in terms of changing your base clock, changing your ratio, doing the discharge button, right, which is always very important. Josh isn't here today, but he would approve of a discharge button, I believe.
Where does that go? Is that like a daughter board?
Yes, I think it was like in the top right-hand corner of the board.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So it's a lot easier to get at than the ones at the bottom if you're screwing around.
that's true. That's true.
If you really need to discharge in a hurry.
Lots of bundled applications, lots of bundled accessories. I want to see here what the UEFI is looking like here. Fancy. Dragons on fire, if you will.
That's usually a bad sign in your UFEFI, though, isn't it?
If things are on fire,
That's a bad BIOS setting.
yeah, well, I think you can actually change it. I do like this, right? The board explorer that they implemented in here that lets you kind of say this will show you what things are plugged into which ports, for example, so you can see what DIMMs he had populated. He had a processor in that one processor slot, and then Sebastian knows all about the processor slots, right?
Yeah, well, you can go by the manual. You can kind of improvise. I've seen several slots just looking at these photos that could take processors.
That's true. We could
Maybe they wouldn't work as fast, but
every
I take a
incremental
by 16 processor.
any incremental improvements are going to be welcome, right? So at the end of the day, I think the style of this board actually is what differentiates it more than anything, because there are plenty of Z170 boards out there. On the high side of pricing at $299 on Amazon with Prime shipping, and on Newegg, same price, $299. It did get a gold award for Mori. Weakness, CMOS battery placement.
Why isn't it on the daughter board? Why?
Wah, wah. So check out the review. I know a lot of people now that Core i7 6700Ks and 6600Ks are available are more interested in these Skylake products. So if this style of motherboard, this very unique coloration and pattern interests you, check that out and make sure you check out that full review over at PC Perspective, PCPer.com.
It does look like we may have had a typo. It has Gen 2 ports. I think on the second page it says Gen 2, but on the first page it might say Gen 1.
Oh, for the USB?
But they are Gen 2 ports.
They are Gen 2
3.1
ports.
Gen 2
Okay.
ports.
Okay, all right. So you get full 10 gigabit per second.
Yeah.
Definitely get all the video capability.
Well, no,
Gotcha.
I was reading at the spec. I think that's separate from everything.
Oh, it is?
I think even USB 3.1 Gen 2 doesn't have to support that. It's an additional add-on, as
Okay.
is the power stuff.
Okay.
Nice and easy.
Well, well understood, obviously, by those of us in charge of review websites, clearly. I'll move on to a couple of other things. This next story centers around this guy here. This is the new Valve Steam controller. And this guy, the Valve Steam Link, right? So we're going to really focus on this controller today. So I published a video. It's not really an article exactly on this. There's a little stub page here that links to our video that talks about it, where I essentially walk through, oh, hey, look, the PC Perspective podcast is live right now.
Awesome.
Who knew? This has been one of those projects that's been in development for seemingly like
Years.
forever, right?
Yeah.
And it's
I think we
changed a
got
lot.
hands-on with that controller 2 years ago at 2.5 years ago at CES.
Less than two, like almost 3 years, Ken. We're getting
Yeah,
close to
true.
CES. There was at one point where it had like two touchpads here, and then it had like this weird swipey touchpad in the middle.
Yep.
They've kind of, and it didn't have any of these buttons. I don't think. I don't think it had
so
any
either.
like
initially it was
traditional
just
console
it was
buttons.
just like a couple of pads and some triggers
Yeah, let's
initially.
fast forward here a little bit in this video to there we go, where we take it apart. So the controller itself, it's light. It feels very different than anything else, right? It's not.
That's true.
It's not a like the Shield controller was very clearly like mimicked after the Xbox controller, the Xbox 360 controller. This is not that. It's not a duplicate of the PS4. It's not a duplicate of the Xbox One. It's very
No, it
unique.
looks like a duplicate of like an old one.
Maybe. I mean, it even just like the curvature of the handle where it kind of recesses down. Most controllers come up.
Remember when
So it
Sega was
recesses
a
down.
thing?
I do, yeah.
That's what it reminds me of when I see it. I haven't touched it, of course, but looking at it, I'm like,
It
that
kind of looks
one
like
of those old Sega ones.
what was the Sega that had like the flat analog circle thing in it, like on
I
this
think it was the
side?
Genesis, but I'm not positive.
Yeah, it was like it was the second controller for
Yeah.
the Genesis, I think.
Oh, yeah.
You remember which one I'm
That
talking
was a
about?
long
I
time
forget
ago.
what that was.
Wow.
I forget. It had a name, obviously, but I don't know what it was.
Yeah, I don't
the name.
remember what that
But
was.
this is unique in that it has two touch pads. This one on the right is very unique. It has like this haptic feedback that you feel as
Yep.
you move your finger
It
across
like ticks.
Yeah. And as you move it, it kind of ticks in iterations. And then it acts like, it more or less emulates a trackball. Right? So as you sweep your finger, if you sweep your finger across it, the momentum goes through a little bit even after your thumb has left the surface.
And the ticking winds down.
Yeah.
Yes.
The ticking that the haptic feedback makes it sound like a trackball.
yeah,
which is interesting.
essentially. The one on the left is...
Actually, if you hit the middle button to put it, like turn it on, the trackpad will activate, and you can probably get some of that on the mic.
yeah.
It is kind of quiet.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, that sounds like.
It sounds like Ken and I decided it sounds like 3G cellular interference.
Yeah. Similar.
Oh, it just turned off because it couldn't find a thing to sync
Aw.
with. Also, it does make funny sounds, I think. Like this sound. It's just, it's very like 1980s Atari sounding
Yeah.
to it.
Yeah.
And when it syncs, it makes sounds. And it also makes sounds in terms of the button clicks, which is one thing I'm not a huge fan of.
Yeah, I was able to tell you were playing something on that across the room. Like you had the sound off,
The
but I could.
touchpad is fine. This is fine.
Yeah.
But like, if you listen.
Some of the buttons are just.
Every button makes a different sound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These
is
are
interesting.
quiet. These are the analog trigger. There's two triggers in the back. The analog ones have some space and then they click through it a bit. But then the new ones on the inside, like where your pinky and ring finger are,
Yeah.
They have like paddles on them, which is actually really cool for like a racing game.
Yep.
But if you listen,
Yeah, they're kind of loud.
Yeah.
they have a click. These have a click.
Yeah.
But it's a mechanical controller.
Well, I mean, I think they wanted some kind of feedback to the button to know that you actually have
Sure.
engaged it.
I get it.
So I get it. It just makes it a little loud.
It doesn't make the controller bad necessarily. It's just different.
Yep.
Right. And then they did kind of like, so originally you didn't have this analog thumbstick and you didn't have this collection of 4 buttons, the A, B, X, Y kind of classic controller buttons. I think they just ran into too many instances where they had to have it. You had to have that to play a game. The buttons are small. They're a little bit further in on the controller than you're used to, right? Because this big touchpad takes up so much of that space.
Yep.
So a little bit
Because usually those buttons
more
are like
uncomfortable to reach.
Usually those buttons are where your thumb is on the right side. Yeah.
And, you know, you still have to use them. So even like playing BioShock, a game that's kind of built for a controller, but also built for mouse and keyboard, use the touchpad to kind of move aim.
Yeah.
You're using the thumbstick to
Strafe and stuff?
like move forward and back and left and right.
Okay.
But then you're using the buttons here to change weapons, reload, all that same type of thing. And then there's actually so many buttons on the thing, and maybe this shows my lack of doing a lot of console gaming recently, but like in order to hold the controller comfortably, I needed to have 3 fingers on this bottom side.
Yep.
Right, I don't know if this is coming through in the video, and which only leaves 1 finger up here, but there's 2 buttons.
Yeah.
So you really need to have 2 buttons up here,
2
and only
fingers
2
on the-
fingers on the back.
Yeah.
You don't have amazingly small hands.
I don't. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Ken. You're
If you think about an Xbox or PlayStation controller, you don't sit with 2 fingers up on the top, do you?
No,
You're supposed to, though.
I've never met anyone who does.
Maybe not.
That's totally
Well, wait,
uncomfortable.
Because the problem is,
yeah.
like, with these 2, it's enough to hold it, but on the other controllers, you're not also actuating a button
Yep.
with those. And I think everybody admits, like, your ring and your pinky finger have the least,
Dexterity.
dexterity to them. So, like, making myself use that paddle to shift was a very, like, I had to think about it and consciously make myself do it.
Yeah, it was
and when I
tricky.
did that, I would take my fingers off other buttons.
Because even like in a car with paddle, like I use
You're
use middle
using,
fingers. Yeah.
But obviously, you got a lot of other stuff to do. So to access all the buttons, you got to have 2 here, 2 here, and then kind of do things that way.
Your tongue on the stick. And,
Right.
yeah.
It has a very, like, I don't know.
What does that keep taking off?
So this on the back here, where it clicks, there's a switch that pops up.
Okay, and then
And
what?
so this is the back. This is where the batteries go. One
Oh.
AA in each side.
Okay.
But it's very cheap feeling in some
That's
ways.
weird. So
Maybe-
the cover is the paddles.
Yeah. Yeah.
Huh.
So when you plug it in,
So this flexes
yeah.
on purpose in order to.
Yeah.
That's weird.
It's odd. It's odd. The whole thing. What is this? Is it 59 or 49? I think it's 59. Isn't
I think
it?
it's 59.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I played around with it for maybe 2 hours on Friday. Played a handful of games. You can watch the video. I played some BioShock in it, and we kind of have a picture-in-picture where it shows me using the controller, so you can see what my hand is doing versus what the gameplay is doing. And then I played some Rocket League as well, which is a much more simplistic game that actually used the left side section, which, if you can see it, it has a crosshair on it. It has like a digital pad cross pattern to it.
Yep.
But it's very large, and so you move your thumb around a lot to use it as a D-pad. I didn't try a fighting game yet. I need to do that because that's, in theory, what you would be using to play Street Fighter or something like that, which I guess I just need to know how accurate that is. It's a very unique product. I wouldn't tell everybody to go out and jump out and buy it, right?
Yeah, I feel the same way.
I don't know. It's interesting and unique, and
You definitely want to try it
what
first.
you can do.
Yeah, but I don't think trying it will help. I think you need to spend a couple of days.
Yeah, it's not
with
like you can't just use it for 10 minutes, because if you just use it for 10 minutes, it's going to feel awful. It's going to feel uncomfortable. It's going to feel
because you have to like relearn.
unknown. Yeah.
You have to relearn. Like, I mean, this is radically different from pretty much anything.
Yeah, it is.
So,
It really is.
Yeah.
Which I commend them for trying.
It's $49.99. I think shipping from Valve is $10, but Amazon has free shipping.
Okay.
It comes out the 10th.
I mean, one of the benefits is like, so FTL is a game that's on Steam that has no controller support at all.
Yeah, it's a mouse game.
It's a mouse-only game, and when you try to start it, it says, hey, This is not supported by controllers. Just so you don't have to map it. But you actually use this right hand touchpad as like
'Cause it is a touchpad.
mouse surface, right? As a touchpad, as if it were on a laptop, and then you used like left and right mouse buttons were one of these. I don't remember which one they were. So you could completely play the game with that controller from your couch,
That's cool.
hooked up to a TV. That would be pretty much impossible to do otherwise, or much more difficult, right? Like using a thumbstick to emulate a mouse versus using a touchpad to emulate a mouse are very different things. The second thing is a Steam link. We have a second video that'll go up this week or later this week on this specifically. This is their attempt to bring streaming gaming to the home.
Yeah.
So this is a simple device. It's basically a video decoder. It's got USB ports, HDMI, and Ethernet on it. It's easy, light, simple. It just sits there. It's got wireless built into it as well, 802.11 AC.
So is it just
5 gigahertz and 2.4?
Any Steam game? Is that the idea?
Yeah. So like when you basically you hook it up, you plug it in, it looks for other machines on your network that have Steam on it.
Oh, okay.
Right. And so it says, okay. And then what it does is when you connect to a machine, it starts a big picture mode, right? Which is obviously built to have a TV interface. So any of the interactivity that you have with big picture mode and any of the quirks you have with big picture mode get brought over.
Right.
But it's basically everything runs on the machine. Like you could watch it on the screen, right? It's not like running in the background in some kind of recessed way.
Yeah.
It's active.
So that
it's
computer
just passing the video through.
That machine is occupied.
It is. Yeah. You can't use this to have your wife do
Use
schoolwork
the
or
computer,
something on it while you're gaming on it. That's not the function of it.
So how does the delay of this guy compared to like the more native like NVIDIA kind of?
I mean, it's pretty much the same thing, right? I mean, there's input latency.
Yep.
On the local network, right? We had this hardwired on a very fast network.
It's either input or it's just round trip. I mean, you don't really know.
It's input latency from what you feel at the TV, right? So we had hooked up to this TV behind me, and I was trying to play BioShock, and I had just played a bunch of BioShock with this controller natively, directly on this laptop, actually. And then we hooked this up, and I tried to play BioShock Infinite through the TV, and instantly when I started to move, I could feel the latency there. I could feel that it was behind.
So that's pretty much in the video pipeline then, because you played with the controller and that was good directly.
Correct. I mean, it is in the transition of encoding it on the machine, sending it to this device, decoding it, receiving input, going back and making the loop.
Yeah.
And we've always known that has been the problem with streaming gaming, whether it be something like GeForce Now, which is cloud streaming, or NVIDIA GeForce game streaming, or now Steam Link that is local in-network stuff. Some games work fine with it. Games that aren't latency sensitive.
Sure.
BioShock Infinite is a first-person shooter that requires fairly accurate.
It's kind of twitchy.
Right? It's not as bad as like trying to play Battlefield 4 multiplayer. Right. But there's some accuracy needed in BioShock Infinite, and I could tell immediately. Could you get used to it? Probably. It was one of those things where it's like I wanted to stop, but the cursor kept going type of thing.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't necessarily even the starting of it, the starting late that got me. It was the stopping late that I thought really affected me. But like I played, what else did I play? I played some Dirt Rally. That was okay. Racing games tend to be a little bit more less sensitive to latency. Because you
can see what's coming.
Well, the inherent washiness of driving a car, right? Like tires slide.
Yep.
And so it feels more forgiving that way. Played Brothers, Tale of Two Sons, which was interesting because you had to use the thumbstick, and then this touchpad is one. But you could play non-latency dependent games on it just fine. The image quality looks great. I'll say that. Like the image quality looks fantastic. But they didn't solve physics still. Right?
Yeah.
So there's that. You want to play Skyrim? Fantastic, probably. You want to play Star Wars Battlefront? Probably not so much.
That's also an Origin game, so good luck.
That's true. Yeah. Those are both Origin games. Yeah. You want to play Crysis 3?
No.
That's an Origin game, too. There's games on Steam, I'm sure. I'm sure there are games on Steam. You want to play The Witcher 3? You could probably play that one. That's like a Skyrim-esque type game. Batman Arkham Origins.
How about any Valve game?
Well, you can't play Batman Arkham Origins.
But see, like Portal, you could probably get away with.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you can get away with it on Portal.
But like TF2, probably not.
Right.
Because that requires, it's fast moving. I don't know. So check out that video. It's on the site. Steam controller and Steam Link overview and first impressions.
It's basically what game, like, for people trying to figure it out that just can't picture it. If you ever tried to play a game on a TV that was not in game mode, where the TV added like 50 milliseconds of lag or 80 milliseconds of lag or something like that, it's the exact same thing.
Yep.
Right? You want the game to do something, it takes this much extra time for you to see the result. So, yeah.
It actually makes the GeForce Now stuff kind of almost more impressive to me because it was very, very close to the experience I had with this. Now, there were different games, so I can't say that for sure.
Sure, yeah.
But like on a local network. But we'll be spending more time with it. I'm going to take it to my house and try it on a different network and do some other stuff and just make sure that that's not any particular issue. But we'll have more on this controller in the link next week when we talk about it then. Also, we want to talk about a review of the new Acer XR 3041CK. You know, after I typed that like 40 times, it's like, okay,
just rolls off the tongue
makes sense,
now.
right? It's a 34-inch.
What's the one?
CK.
34.1 inch.
Oh.
I don't know if that's right.
That's what it usually is.
I think it's 34-inch class, which usually just means like 33.8.
Okay, so we know what
But
the
I don't
34
know.
is, and
Yeah.
the one is question mark.
The XR is like their gaming brand,
Yep.
right?
Well,
What's the CK?
one of their gaming brands.
Well, that's like the designator of their gaming brand. Then 334 and then one I don't know, whatever.
Okay.
It's a 34-inch
Yep.
monitor, 21:9 aspect ratio. So the ultra-wide monitor, 3440 by 1440.
Curved, I guess that's a C.
Curved, yeah, that's not even in there. 75 hertz, IPS. So it kind of give you all the specs, and now you know everything you need to know about the monitor.
Pretty much.
It's a FreeSync enabled monitor. This is probably my new favorite FreeSync monitor. The more I use these 21:9 displays, the more impressed I am about what they allow you to do. Like if you look at this screenshot, this picture I took rather, that shows like 2 full screen browsers plus, open on PCBoard.com plus a full screen Twitter. There's a little bit of sliver or something left on the side. Like if you are a multiple browser person, if you want to have Word open while you're doing, watching a video while you're doing these other things, like the real estate you get is fantastic. Especially if you compare it to somebody coming from a 1080p or 25:14 monitor. The productivity benefits of it are pretty interesting. But obviously this is a gaming series monitor, and there's some stuff to consider, right? So it's 3440 by 1440. It's a fairly high resolution. It's 4.9 million pixels per frame. Which
So it's not 4K. It's nowhere near 4K.
it's not even
so-
close to 4K, and that's
Right.
I expected it to be, right? So 25 by 14, I believe, is 3.8
Okay.
million, 3.5 million.
But this
something
is
that.
like a third more,
This is
right?
like a third more.
Yeah.
Okay, and I thought, okay, I thought it was really close to 4K, but 4K is like,
More than twice,
yeah,
I think,
it's 70% more
than 25 by...
than 3440 by 1440.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's another 70% jump up. And the reason why we talk about like pixel count, like nobody really cares about how many pixels there are, but
That's how it's going to impact your gaming. Right.
it's a quick way to judge that, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
It's a
okay,
simple
if my
test.
GPU can push 25 by 14 at a reasonable rate,
Yeah.
how much more horsepower or how much quality settings am I going to have to turn off to enable like a
Yep.
3440 by 14?
Or will you just have to set the resolution to 25 by 14 and just deal with like...
bars on the
you
side?
know.
You could. I think that defeats. I think you should decrease quality
Yeah.
settings.
Well,
before
it depends
you do
on the
that,
game,
but-
right? I mean, some games you don't really need the wraparound for. And
Well, some games don't even support it.
Right. That's
Which is-
another issue.
which is interesting.
Yeah.
From a physical standpoint, like I really like the stand design.
Yeah, it is a nice stand.
It looks really simple, and it is, but it works really well.
Mm-hmm.
It's very stable. We didn't have any wobble issues with it at all.
Yep.
The stand has height adjustment. It has angle adjustment. You can see that here. Like we have it to its kind of one of our lower settings and angled back.
I think it was like a pretty decent grade aluminum. Like it didn't.
It felt good.
It didn't
Like,
have any flex at all. It was
No.
very solid.
No.
Yeah.
You can see from this image here the curved nature of it, right? So it's a very subtle thing. It's not
Yeah.
a dramatic curve, and it works really well for monitors because there's a single user.
Mm-hmm.
Curved TVs didn't make any sense because you would have people over.
Yep.
Maybe you'd have people over, I guess.
It does have VESA mounts too.
It does, yeah. So
Oh, perfect.
if you want to take it off that stand, Yeah, there they are, right there. If you want to take it off the stand and put it on an articulating arm or something else, you can absolutely do that.
I will say for a lot of these curved, actually for all the curved panels we've seen so far, if you have any possibility of someone that's going to be sitting next to you trying to look, right? Just in other words, over the shoulder or just like that kind of a thing. If it's anything other than just you sitting at the screen, right? All of the curved panels so far, if you look at them off axis, it's not so much that you can't see the screen because the curve, like you're looking into the curve, it's that you start not being able to see the far edge because you get this weird parallax thing. Like in other words, in order to make the screen curvable, the backlight is like 1/8 of an inch behind the matrix of the screen. Right. So as you start to move your head, say even if you were sitting really close to this screen, it'll actually do that because you're looking at the two outer edges, at the two far corners. You're looking at them on an angle, and you actually don't see the very edge of what's being displayed.
When we first saw it, it made it look like on a Windows desktop. It made it look like the icons were like jumping
floating
off the page. Wow, this is some great 3D technology that they've but it's really just like an optical illusion of the light.
And really old LCD panels used to do the same thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the backlight used to be separated out. The matrix wasn't a really thin kind of a thing. But I guess just in order to make a curved display, they have to just make it a different way. And it can't just be all bonded together to one piece. It's probably just the matrix is just kind of laid in there, and it's curvy. You know?
It's cool. Interesting little
something to know. Yeah.
In terms of inputs, you got DisplayPort and mini DisplayPort, but you can only use one of those at a time. 2 HDMI's. One of them supports HDMI 2.0, and you have a DisplayPort out, which is interesting. It actually supports daisy chaining.
DisplayPort. Oh, so pass through.
Yeah, it's daisy chaining. There's essentially like an MST hub.
Okay, so it has a built-in hub, so you can add another display to the same chain. Okay.
Yeah, which is nice, right? Especially.
I wonder how far can you take that, with bandwidth wise. You know what I mean? On display, because that first cable is going to have all the added up. If you try to do say 3 of these or something.
I wonder if not very far.
Yeah, I wonder if
especially if you're chaining 3440 by 1440 75 hertz displays.
Yeah.
It does come. One stupid thing here is they have. If you look at this picture, this is a picture of the DisplayPort cable plugged into the back of the monitor.
Yep.
And most DisplayPort cables have this retention thing on them where they clip in, right, and they lock in, and it's a great feature, right, because you don't have cables accidentally sliding out, and you don't have to do the thumb screw dumb shit.
And they almost always make it so that button plugs into a given monitor, so that the button is away from
the
something.
button, faces out towards you, right?
Yeah.
Well, in this case, there's a plastic overhang, the kind of a piece of molding that gets in the way.
The plugs are all inset,
so you literally can't get your finger in there. I had to use a
popsicle stick or something.
It's what do we call them? The GPU removal tools, but they are essentially the back plates off of cases.
Yeah.
Right?
The removal, the punch outs for that.
And you push it in there and get it there. And to their credit, they ship a cable without that retention clip.
Oh, okay.
Right, so they know it. But the cable they send is only 4 feet, and that's annoying as shit.
That's not enough.
That's not enough. Especially for a long monitor. I don't know. It's.
You almost can't make 4 feet if the PC was right next to it on the desk.
Well, that's where you have the issue here, right?
Yeah, the PC was right next to it on the desk.
Next to the desk, and it's that's as far as it goes. So something to keep in mind there. And then the other cool thing that the monitor does is it has ambient light on the bottom of it.
Yeah,
there's
underglow.
Yeah, there's 10 LEDs or so. It's 9 or 10 of them, I think. And they just fire straight down.
You can change the color, red, green, blue, or white. You can make it. There's 5 levels of brightness. You can make it pulse or breathe or flash. You can do the Knight Rider thing where it goes back and forth.
Can you do in between colors, mixes?
I don't think so. No, actually, I will say no. No, you cannot.
Oh, it's better than not having them.
So the monitor itself, it works really well. This is its uncalibrated state. If you don't know what all these numbers mean, know that green in those bars on the right-hand side is good. Red is bad.
Yep.
It just means that in this monitor, the green and the yellow and the green and yellow for the most part are if you oversaturated.
Basically, if you see good results in all the grays, the monitor is generally pretty well calibrated.
Okay.
Just out of the box. Right.
So you see these green a little bit towards the yellow, but there's a lot of green.
But then when you get to the solid colors, just red, green, blue, yellow,
yep.
What would be kind of edges of like where where a given color is at its maximum. If that's out of band, usually it just means that the display is either not good enough of a color gamut, or it's just too high. It's like,
and in this
like
case, there you can see here, if you look at this triangle, their green and yellows are beyond, like they're basically
beyond sRGB.
Yes.
Right. So you have
which is fine. It's just not accurate.
Right. It's just too much color.
Right.
Who would have thought that was a bad thing in a display, right?
This is the result after calibration through our process here using a spider device and whatever.
Bunch of voodoo.
A bunch of open source software that kind of works together sometimes. But once you get it calibrated, everything looks awesome.
Yep.
It's a fantastic display. And like I said, even out of the box, it's pretty good. Mm-hmm. Despite the red and orange that you see here, out of the box, it still looks pretty good. When you switch between calibrated and uncalibrated, like right back and forth, like it's still, there's a difference, but it's not like switching back to a TN panel or something like that from 5 years ago.
The effect on this particular panel is that it just kind of like increases the contrast some.
Right.
Because before it was stretching that color out to a further, the color was actually like a brighter color, right? And it was like, all right, red is too red. I need to dial that back in a little bit. So it actually like increases contrast effectively. Yeah.
And then obviously finally, like gaming impressions. This is awesome. I think I talked about this a couple weeks ago because I played Star Wars Battlefront at 3440 by 1440. I took some screenshots, posted them on there. We talked about it on the podcast.
Yep, that was from this monitor. Obviously, you can't replicate the curvature
in a screenshot.
Just print it out.
Just print it out and bend it about 6 degrees across, right? Yeah. It was awesome, right? And like here's me shooting some people up in GTA 5. It is very similar to kind of the kind of experience you get with iFinity or NVIDIA Surround, without the headaches.
Yeah.
Right? So you don't get bezels. You don't have to go through any configuration or setup.
No bezel correction, no...
It's wider than normal, but it's not way wider than normal. And so you don't get like the extreme fisheye at the end of the displays. Like I've always complained is like iFinity and Surround is half of the outside monitors are almost so distorted they're
it's
not
all stretched.
Useful information.
Yeah.
Like the guy's head goes from here to when you move over here, his head's that big.
It's like a melon.
How close is he? Oh, he's not close at all.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean it's to me for gaming, and I think most modern games are supporting this. The ultra-wide experience is awesome.
Yeah.
And actually, Alan brought up something this morning when we were talking about it. His first inclination was that the 34-inch 3440 by 1440 monitor was actually
I thought it was like
shorter.
Yeah, I thought it wasn't as tall.
The vertical distance of it was less than a 27-inch 25 by 14 like the ROG Swift.
Because I thought you would have less workspace to do like Word documents.
Yeah, so even though you have the same resolution, if it's scrunched up, you higher pixel density, but whatever. And actually, it turned out to be the opposite. It was almost exactly the same. It was actually
a little bit bigger.
The 1440 pixels were actually stretched just maybe half an inch or something like that.
Yep.
Based on our tape measure measurements for that. So it's kind of neat. And this is an expensive monitor. It's $1,000. It's $1,000, right? Like you're getting ultra wide, curved, 3440 by 1440, 75 hertz. So those are the top level of all of those increments.
Okay.
Right. So the curved is a little bit of a price increase. 75 hertz display is kind of the top level for that screen size. 3440 by 1440 is the top resolution for that screen size. And it's a good build quality, and you have FreeSync support. So all the variable refresh window is from like 32 hertz to 75 hertz.
And I think the overdrive on this one was similar to like that Asus IPS FreeSync panel.
It worked well. Yeah.
I mean, it works. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's good. Like I would say it's passable, especially on an IPS screen at this point. Like they're working on it, and it's been getting better every time. So.
Yep. So there's more details in the review. Check that out, and we'll actually have another monitor review for you probably tomorrow as this podcast goes live. We'll have a review of the brand new Asus PG279Q, which
ROG
is
Swift 2.
The ROG Swift PG279Q. It's not ROG Swift 2, despite what Alan wants it to be called.
It's the second ROG Swift.
It's the new Asus one with the 165 hertz IPS refresh. right? And it's pretty good, to not spoil the review, but it's a pretty awesome monitor. But let's take...
If you're 26 or under, make sure you get your parents' permission to view the review.
Yeah, it'll have all kinds of dirty pictures.
It is
in
PG-27.
Yeah,
Yes.
you're right. So let's take a quick break here and thank today's podcast sponsor, WhisperSync for Voice, an Amazon and Audible innovation. They are supporting us on this episode. We really appreciate it. And I think the technology they have here is actually really cool. If you're one of those people that wishes you had more time to read, this is how you create more book time. You can add narration to your Kindle ebooks. You can read on your tablet. Like if you're at home, you're in bed, you have the ability to read on your tablet, you can do that. But when it's time to leave, you got to go to work,
Right.
You got to drive to a family event or something like that, get on a bus, whatever you're going to do, you can pick up where you left off by switching to the audio and listening to it on your phone.
Now, is this Audible or is this...
It's Amazon and Audible together.
Okay, so they're together.
Yep.
And I know that there was just the WhisperSync thing.
It would just sync between them.
Yeah.
Now, this is basically the same thing, right? Like this is the technology to.
But you're saying
stop
where
reading.
in the book goes to where you should be in the podcast? Or
No,
in the audio
version.
book?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. So basically, when you stop reading, it
Yeah.
recognizes where you're at. It syncs to the network.
Right.
It says,
Yep.
okay, he stopped here, and it starts the audio
At
where
the
you
same
left
place.
Yeah.
off. Where you left off.
It's so cool.
Yeah. Ken talks about this all the time.
Yeah.
It
Isn't that
works
awesome?
great.
It's my favorite feature of the whole Kindle stuff.
So the app knows where you're on the book. It'll pick up right where you stopped. You can. It really will help you like get to those books that you've been wanting to read, but you really haven't had time to do it.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, you're sitting on your couch, you can read, then you need to go
Because
somewhere.
there's a huge benefit to, I think, like when I'm driving into
Yeah,
work, I
when we're
got
driving
15
in.
minutes or 20 minutes, whatever it is, to get some reading time in.
Yep.
But when I'm at home, I don't want to put on my headphones and listen to an audiobook and kind of like ignore my wife and child. So, but if I'm reading on the couch, that's okay. So you can kind of cycle back and forth between those very easily. You don't have to take a Post-it note and say, well, I was on page blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And maybe I can figure out where that syncs out into time span. You can actually learn how to add narration to your Kindle ebooks if you go to amazon.com/PCPer. It's really simple. You buy the Kindle book, and then there's a checkbox underneath the add to cart or buy with one click that says add audio companion. If you do that, it's an add-on price, and then you can switch between listening and reading on the Kindle app or tablet. You can add narration to over 60,000 Kindle bestsellers and popular titles, and even better, upgrading your ebook with narration is kind of irresistibly affordable. It'll vary from title to title. I guess that depends on what the cost of the audiobook would be in general. It's called WhisperSync for Voice. You can enjoy these books you've been meaning to read but just haven't had the time. Make sure you go to amazon.com/PCPer. We're just excited to have that that URL. That's pretty cool. You go there, it's got our logo and stuff on it. So now we're legit. Amazon.com/PCPer. I really want to try this, right? And it actually has a service in there. If you go there, if you already have a Kindle, you have Kindle books, it will cycle through your Kindle library and tell you which books have the narration feature on it. So
Okay.
you can just kind of like, you want to add this one, then add this one, add this one. So if there's a book you've bought, which I have like 3 or 4 that I've purchased but haven't read yet, you can say, okay, add narration to it. It'll charge you whatever the difference is, and then take advantage of the WhisperSync tech. So I'm probably gonna try that out with one. There's a couple of books on that page where it goes through your recommendations. Probably not the Rick Pitino book. I'll probably go with one of the video game books, and give that a shot. So we thank WhisperSync Technology for their support of the PC Perspective podcast. So let's move on. We've got some news to run through here. Early last. I don't know, almost a week ago, NVIDIA released Share Beta and a new GFE bundle. We've talked about Share Tech here before, the person-to-person streaming, the ability, like it was called Shadowplay before.
Oh,
Where you had the ability to record in real time while you're going. It was always capturing some amount of time, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and you could save it, go back. With this, they added, and you could still do Twitch broadcasting, YouTube broadcasting is added
So
now.
what's different now? Like, what are they
They've added person-to-person streaming. So if you want to watch me play a game,
Okay.
you can stream. I can stream to you specifically
Over what medium?
over GFE.
Oh.
Yeah. So all I do is I click the button there that
So do
looks
we have
like
to,
person-to-person.
is there like a friends thing or something?
It's actually web-based, right? So
Oh.
when I put in like your email address of
Okay.
a person I want to stream a game to. You get the email, click a link, it opens up a browser, and you can watch me play the game.
So I have to have signed into my GFE
No,
with something?
no, you don't have to. Only I have to have
Right.
GFE. You don't even have to have GFE installed.
You don't even have to have an.
Oh, it just
NVIDIA
sends me a
GPU.
link.
Yeah, it just sends you a
just
web
get a
link.
link.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then
That's cool.
I also think it doesn't require GFE. You can actually take over and play my game for me.
Really?
Yeah.
Through the web streaming thing?
Yep. You have a controller, you have a mouse and keyboard, and I can send you an invite to take over gameplay as well. They put a time limit on it. I think it was like 2 hours. Is that right? Or something like that? Like it's to prevent just like people from... It's supposed to be like, hey, you should try out The Witcher 3. I'm going to start it. You can play it on my system
I
for
would
2
imagine
hours.
it might...
Oh, please.
all that,
I can't beat this boss. Can you do it for me?
Well, there's that to it.
Yeah.
Sebastian will do that for me a lot.
and not only that, but all of that, you're playing something on another machine, latency stuff applies to.
Oh,
me,
yeah.
so,
It absolutely-
Kind of like a sling box for gaming.
It's Slingbox over, over the internet.
Yeah.
For your game.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I think you do need to use Chrome and like an extension. Like the browser support
Yeah,
is
I would
limited
imagine.
right now. Like,
And what if I use Microsoft's Edge browser?
well, then you can go ahead and
you can try.
You can just try and not use it. Yeah.
You can give it a shot.
So that's what's new in Share. That's pretty cool. Now the one thing they did change. So here's what it says the demos are for. By the way, latency-free one-to-one broadcasts. It's very like quicker than Twitch or YouTube or whatever streaming. If you want to do one-to-one broadcasting, you can. Demo new games with friends. Help your buddy beat a level. Play together in a co-op mode. Oh, that's also true. Yeah, like if you have a multiplayer game
Yeah.
and you connect to it, it emulates
Your controller
your
gets added
controller
as a second
controller.
Okay, now that's awesome.
It's pretty cool.
That I like.
So like Trine 3 was the example they use. It's a very kind of well used multiplayer controller based game. So I can invite you to play, and we play in co-op mode. It's pretty neat. It really is.
We could play Mario Portal.
Yeah.
yeah.
They now do game stream at 4K, so you can stream from your PC to an NVIDIA Shield device at 4K.
Can you save the stream at 4K?
Yes.
Can I what?
It used to be like if the resolution was too high, it would only do like 30 frames per second or
This
something.
does 4K 60, 5.1 surround.
So I'm guessing it can also save that to disk if you're trying to just save.
Yeah, and it's got a built-in
Yes,
editor as well
yes.
now.
Shadowplay can now record at 4K.
Okay.
Yes, correct. Now, one thing they did do that I think a lot of people aren't happy about is they basically removed the ability to download the game-ready drivers. So, like, whenever a game would come out for, let's say, Battlefront, Star Wars Battlefront, they release a driver that day for, best possible performance for NVIDIA cards on that game.
Sure.
You could just go to the GeForce.com and download it.
Or just GFE would.
GFE would
GFE could
you.
pull it down. Yeah.
Now you have to get it through GFE, and you have to give them your email address in order to get it. You have to have a confirmed email address.
So they're going to
Yeah.
be drivers that you can only download through GFE?
Yes.
And only if you've signed in with your email address.
Yeah.
Ugh.
it's pretty stupid.
Yeah.
I don't understand why.
Because
Well, clearly they want a mailing list. Right? They want
For what?
They want their most dedicated fans in order to send you marketing and stuff or whatever. Right?
they
Go ahead.
essentially said, oh, well, it's for contests that are coming up. So, you can download your latest driver and join up for a contest. And you can unsubscribe from the
okay.
mailing list after you signed up.
That's what
But
they say.
The thing is,
But here's what I would do in the past. Like, I don't normally download drivers right away like that, but if some new game is out and I try to run it and something weird happens, my next step is, let me go get whatever the most recent driver is. Well, if the most recent driver outside of this process is like 2 months old and obviously didn't fix the issue, and you're telling me I have to give you my email address just to make my GPU work properly with a game that just
that
came out?
is correct.
I don't have email.
That's kind of...
Yeah, what do I do if I tell them that?
I mean, it's just
I
not
don't
only
have
that, not
email.
only that, but I also have to install GFE. Like,
You're correct. You're right.
Yeah.
These are all changes. Yes.
Yeah, you do not have a choice. If you want to play NVIDIA, you've got to give them an email address and install their extra little thing.
I don't like
Brought
that.
to you by AMD.
Now-
It still gives you drivers.
Now here's
without
what's
the sign-in.
interesting. I've been told there's no DRM in the drive or anything like that. Like, so if one person goes and downloads it to GFE,
so it's just gonna
and post it on some website.
See, now that's opening up another can of worms.
Uh-huh.
Because then people are just going to inject whatever crap malware into the freaking new driver, put it on a site, and people are just going to go, oh, here's this driver, and download it, and now they've got, like, awesome infections.
Ooh,
And,
awesome infections.
Awesome infections. And, like, it's
Those are
going to
the
be,
best.
here's the new version of the NVIDIA keylogging driver.
Yeah.
And Allyn's botnet grows.
Yes. My botnet will just be huge.
I'm going to cut this
Yes.
part out of the podcast.
Do you want email syphilis or real syphilis? It's your choice.
I mean, really, it
Ooh,
really
that's a
does,
tough one.
because this is like I used to work in that field. That's an awesome vector to get people on a hook, right?
Yeah.
It's something that they want, and it's a driver. You can sneak all sorts of crap into a driver
That's right.
installer.
You're actively downloading an exe.
Yeah. It's
do
a
you want to allow
package
this
that
to make changes to your system? Well, yes.
Well, sure.
Oh.
Would you like this unsigned driver approved? Oh, yeah.
yeah, and not only that, people who is gonna even stutter at an unsigned driver prompt on like a
beta driver.
on a beta driver,
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
They
I
wouldn't
already-
care. They would just be like, "Oh, okay, click, 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 next, next, next," and now
Always
you know,
trust.
Right. Always trust from this vendor.
this is gonna get ugly fast. I can see it.
And video.
You know what's interesting is they claim that 90% of their driver downloads already happen through GFE.
I guess.
So I don't know. We'll have to see how that changes. Anyway, moving on.
Oh, now 100% will.
Well, no, you can still download the Wickle drivers
Yeah.
from
from their
GeForce.com.
site. Yeah.
Because you have to install GFE somehow.
Yeah.
Right? You have to get the software, like you have to be able to go to some place to download the first driver with GFE so that you can start to get the other
I thought you
drivers
could
with
download
GFE.
GFE separate and then let it pull
I
down
don't
the
know
driver.
if you can.
I think you can.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
I actually
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
that's the default button on the front page. Is download
So-
GeForce.
Yeah, they want you to download
say you build a
GFE
new
first.
system,
Yeah.
right? And Battlefront has just come out.
Mm-hmm.
You have to install a driver with GFE.
Or just GFE.
I
One
don't
or the
know.
other.
I don't.
I'm telling you, it's a
I
thing.
don't know if you can do that.
I've done it.
I think you might not be able to do that in the near term.
Okay.
You have to download a driver with install GFE in order to download a new driver
yeah, that's the
to
lane.
install it to get the best performance of the game. It's kind of dumb, but I don't know. Whatever.
I'd
Let's
go
move-
with a different D word, but yeah.
Yeah. Sebastian, you wrote up quite a few news pieces for us here that we're going to cover. One is this Lian Li PC 1800, or PC 18 rather, aluminum
Just
mid-tower
18.
enclosure.
Look at this thing. It's like going back in time.
Yeah,
It's
if only it was
very-
beige.
I don't know what to say about this. I
very
don't know why you
Lian Li.
released a product like this in 2015, but
I
you've got beautiful 5.25-inch bays adorning the front there. You have no rear fan exhaust mount at all.
none.
None.
It's weird.
No.
Oh,
Adult cheese at
And
the bottom.
Where does the
Wow.
power
the
supply
top-mounted
exhaust?
PSU,
Up
which
top.
is always popular.
Oh.
But it's got an interesting bracket that they've added to this. I honestly feel like they must have taken like the tooling and the parts they had for a case from like 1997,
Oh, yeah.
and they added a swing out 360 millimeter rad mount.
Oh, no,
but
you
it's-
used to be able to get those.
Oh, okay. So maybe the entire
No,
thing
that
is
was a
just
very
kind of throwback.
classic thing. I like the outside of this case. It makes me feel nice and relaxed and like I'm at home again.
Oh, God.
It almost looks like we should put casters on it and go back to
We
those
should
days.
probably
too.
put casters on it.
Do you think
Yes.
there's
You know what? It's not going to be real heavy. It's a Lian Li. That means it's
yeah.
aluminum.
You don't think there's going to be like a whole bunch of sharp edges in there too, just so everybody remembers how to bleed?
I have personally been
they're
to
going
the
full
ER
retro, they
from a
should be.
computer case before.
You've been to an
to get
ER?
stitches. To get stitches
Oh, I
after
bet that-
slicing my hand open. I don't know what I was doing. Like, you know those punch outs?
You weren't
Everything had
doing it when you were
punch-outs?
working for me, were you?
No.
I got to call my insurance company.
No. This was years ago.
That's just a sacrifice to the PC gods. That PC must have run great forever after you built it.
That's
you
true.
Gave the ultimate
No, it was trash.
sacrifice.
It was a Duron processor.
well.
The
Well,
whole
that's your
build was
fault.
trash.
Well,
That's can't help you there.
you
Trash
gotta
in,
have
trash
set-
out.
you set your expectations right. If it's a Duron, yeah, I'm sure it ran great.
I think it was a 900 megahertz Duron, actually.
Ooh.
What else we got here? How about a rumor that Apple is going to use custom AMD SoC for a next generation iMac?
This actually makes a lot of sense to me because their relationship with AMD has gotten tighter and tighter.
Oh, yeah.
They've dropped NVIDIA from all of their Macs. I didn't know this. I was scrolling through their website. Every single MacBook Pro with dedicated graphics and every iMac and, of course, their Mac Pro is all AMD now. So there's been rumors in the past about them going with some sort of SoC and possibly their own internal SoC. But it would make a lot of sense to me to just go with the next generation product from AMD, who's probably sampling it to them. They're testing it out. They're trying different builds, and they do their own weird thermal management things, and they run very close to max specs on these computers, like the Mac Pro that, it's running 90C and everything seems to run okay with it. So I think that even in their small form factor computers like the iMac and their MacBook Pro, they could make this work. And if you think about a next-gen APU part that is faster than what's in the current Xbox One or PS4, that would make a lot of sense for like a workstation class, like 5K iMac or something.
Right.
If they're doing a lot of stuff off of like GPU rendering or something.
They do OpenCL the hell out of that operating system, just all over the place. So,
which is probably why they went with.
That's
AMD
why they go with Radeons.
Yeah. I know Apple could use, or AMD could use the business.
Yeah, so that's why I pointed out in the piece. It's just it's a great win for AMD if they end up doing this. And Lisa Su had kind of hinted around that they have a couple of wins with contracts coming up with the next gen stuff, but it's not going to be out till like 06, 07, or 16, 17. So we'll see. But I think that the Zen stuff, it might not be quite the same as like the landscape has been in the past. Like we're not going to see like amazing new desktop parts that are going to blow everything away, and we have a great war between AMD and Intel again. I think that they're going more embedded. They just had an announcement today about a new embedded DDR4 part, and they're going kind of down that road where they're testing out more all-inclusive like the SoCs. So we'll see. I think it's a viable rumor though.
What if Apple just pumped a bunch of money into AMD and used them as their x86 license?
What if Apple buys
awesome.
AMD? But can they? Now, this is the question I have. Can AMD sell off their x86 business because of the licensing agreement they have with Intel? Isn't that
so? They could, but it would have to be approved by several entities. Now, if they sold it to Apple, that would probably not be an issue because it's an American company. But if they wanted to sell it to a Chinese company, that's going to be much more problematic. Yeah. So the idea of Apple, I mean, who just invested a whole bunch of money in AMD? Was it Fujitsu?
I don't remember.
I thought it was
or C Micro.
No, so they bought C Micro.
That was Fabric. Yeah, that's sorry.
I'm not sure what it was, but like, yeah, I mean, it would be a feasible thing to do. But I think Apple has invested so much in ARM already that I don't know if they would be interested in kind of pursuing down that. All the rumors seem to indicate that they're like trying to get out of x86.
I don't know. There are those perpetual rumors that the next Intel's working on the next iPhone chip.
But those rumors, but they're working on an LTE chip, LTE portion of that chip with an ARM SoC.
Oh,
and Intel is also happy to fab ARM chips.
Oh, sure, yeah. They definitely would do that. Yeah,
Intel likes money.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You know who else likes money? Well, SanDisk did like money because they accepted 19 billion of them, 19 billion monies from Western Digital to be acquired.
19 billion credits.
Yes, Imperial credits. So Western Digital now owns SanDisk, I assume, unless it gets it approved.
It's pending.
Right?
They had some other acquisition, and
there's a Japanese company that's got a chunk of. No, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say there's a Japanese company with a good chunk of SanDisk IP that chances are they're not going to interfere, but do again have to agree.
Yeah,
but it's
I think Western Digital said they expect this to close Q3 of next year.
Yeah, and I'm surprised the delay is going to be that short because they're in the middle of this 2-year already delay for HDST.
Western Digital is?
Yeah.
Has that not actually gone through ever?
It's gone through enough that there's going to be integration in like more than another year from now. Okay, so it's like, yeah, they're in the middle of that. So I hope this one goes quicker because it's like Western Digital's like, hey, I acquired this company. Oh, you can't touch them for 3 years. It's like, oh, okay.
You can't touch them, but you can tell them what to do.
Kinda?
Yeah.
Yeah. But so this is kind of a weird Inception-y kind of thing, though, because like Western Digital got SanDisk previously got Fusion IO,
and a few others.
So where's the Inception
and a few other
part?
companies. So it's like nested companies. Like the other companies,
sure.
The other companies have like acquired the other ones.
Yeah.
Honestly, Fusion is still Fusion. within SanDisk. Like the products are still really just Fusion products with just SanDisk flash on them. So
And in fact, the majority of these sales aren't even technically final yet, and they've already been bought and sold twice. It's really weird.
Yeah.
It's like SandForce.
I'm hoping
passed around.
I'm hoping because Western Digital's bought other flash company. Was it Silicon Motion or Silicon Image?
Silicon Image.
They bought Silicon Image.
They made SSDs
then-
for one generation and then
they gave up on it. And I'm just hoping that somebody there can
the difference between what Silicon Image was doing, they made a controller.
Yep.
SanDisk makes everything.
Yeah.
Right? They are the largest provider of flash in the world.
Yep.
I believe.
Vertical.
So if nothing
integration.
else, Western Digital got a good shoe in to the camera SD card market.
Well, yeah, that's true.
I mean, SanDisk does so much other stuff, right? They make flash that'll go in phones and other devices,
And
TVs and all that type of
Western
stuff.
Digital, if it's one thing that they're good at, is having shelf space at like Best Buys and stuff like that. Of like
Yeah, but
all of their hard
SanDisk
drives and
already
stuff.
has plenty of shelf space.
Yeah.
For however much shelf space you need for SD cards, really. The more interesting thing to me about this is
Is that they have $19 million?
like a billion. It says in cash and stock. I don't know how that breaks down. I'm not a businessy guy, but there are no more hard drive companies.
Excuse me?
There's no more hard drive companies.
No more companies that only deal in hard drives.
Yeah.
Oh, that only do hard drives.
Gotta diversify, man.
They see the death knell.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Coming soon, Western Digital gaming headset.
I mean, they'll be like Toshiba still technically makes them, but it's just like a little group of Toshiba.
But Toshiba makes flash as well.
Then they make flash and everything else. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and
It's-
Seagate is
Seagate
okay.
owns SanDisk.
No.
Sorry, not SanDisk. What's
What?
the bad SSD controller?
LSI.
SandForce.
SandForce.
of course.
Yeah.
which they haven't really, which still their new controller still has yet to surface
But
in anything
Seagate
in
bought
volume.
them from LSI, right?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
because LSI probably wanted nothing to do with them.
I just wanted, I would have taken $1 billion.
To sell what?
It doesn't matter. Whatever they want.
I'll sell you anything for $1 billion.
If there's going to be a $19 billion transaction, and I know plenty of people at both of these companies, I don't know,
You want your cut?
like 20 million would have been nice,
Oh, okay.
right? Like, I'm
Would
not,
you change the name of the stadium for $1 billion?
I'm not
Would it
greedy.
be Western Digital Presents PCPer.com?
for $20 million.
Hells yeah.
Fit a
Oh,
heart.
now it's only 20 million. I
for
thought it was
less
$1 billion.
than that.
No, I'll go down. You know what? Hold on.
They cut out $1 million for that?
I go down to
75,000.
oh no.
No.
I'm talking.
I've already established
Give me,
the fact.
give me,
that it's
give me
negotiating
7 million,
price.
and you can be SanDisk Presents PC Perspective. If anybody's watching, there's my price.
Of course, they're watching.
Now, I'm still going to review other people's products, and they might still be better than SanDisk. We've got Lexar SD cards.
It's true.
Boom, done. But SanDisk presents a review of a Lexar SD card. Right? That could be.
I don't know if they'd want their name.
No publicity is bad publicity.
That's right. SanDisk presents.
True.
Lexar takes the SanDisk Gold Award.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
just. Ugh.
My buddy Drew's out there watching. 7. I'll get that 6.5.
Okay.
6.5 million.
Okay.
This is not how you negotiate.
You're talking yourself down before you even have counters.
You know what? Five.
No,
4.5.
6.5 is my
Final
cutoff.
offer.
What do you got in your pocket?
6.5. That's it. Let's talk about an ultra thin Yoga 900. This is something that Ken knew about for a little while because he went to China and got to see all this
Ooh, fancy kid.
I knew about this 5 months ago.
stuff. So Lenovo
I
has
didn't
made
tell you.
Lenovo has made Yoga its own brand.
Yep.
It's no longer a ThinkPad Yoga
It was IdeaPad.
or IdeaPad Yoga. Well,
I think
mean-
they still will make ThinkPad yogas, but
okay.
it's no
There's
longer
no
the
more
IdeaPad
IdeaPad Yoga.
They've
Yoga
really-
is its own thing.
They've really kind of been their own thing anyway.
They kind of have.
Oh, yeah.
Now it's official.
You know.
And now we have the Yoga 900. Sebastian, what is the Yoga 900?
It's, what is it, 0.59 inches thick. It's 14.9 millimeters thick.
Okay.
They have a revised version of that watch band hinge. And
I liked it.
It's still the same very high resolution screen as QHD Plus, and they've done a spec bump too. It's got Skylake now, so upgraded processor, upgraded graphics. The base specs on this, I think, are very impressive for the price too. Like, this is a premium convertible laptop with a Skylake processor, and it's $11.99. So about $1,200. Best Buy is going to get an exclusive on a slightly spec bump version of it.
Of
so it's going to
course.
have an i7 instead of an i5 for that $11.99 price. But you're dealing with what does it have with it? Like, it comes stock with a 256 gig SSD, which is nice to see. I believe it's stock 8 gigs of RAM instead of 4.
Yep.
So a little bit higher power, more productivity. They've revised quite a number of things with the design as well. So I'm curious to see what the keyboard feels like. I don't know if Ken had any hands-on with it. What the key trap was like, considering the thinness.
I think it's about the same as the Yoga 3, which is pretty good. Like it was always
Yeah, it was actually pretty
good
good.
keyboard for considering it was that thin of a laptop.
Yeah.
Curious what the JBL stereo is going to sound like too. You don't usually see JBL on laptops that I've seen, anyways.
Yeah, I don't know.
I've seen JBL before. I mean, you've got to be limited by size of
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah.
area in there. Like they did some interesting things. Kim was telling me, so it's a little bit thicker than the Yoga 3 Pro,
A little bit.
but and now they're using full Skylake
Yeah.
instead of Core M. They're using Core i5.
They went back to
Core
15
i7.
watt parts,
Yeah,
which were in the Yoga 1 and 2.
right. And so, to kind of compensate for that, they've made the battery larger. This is a 66 watt hour battery, and I believe the Yoga 3 Pro had like a 52
Yeah.
watt hour
It's
battery.
a significant difference.
So I was a big fan of the form factor of the Yoga 3 Pro, but I was not a fan. I don't think very many people were fans of the reduction in performance. Going from Yoga 2 to Yoga 3, you actually went down in performance. You went up in efficiency and up in battery life. Actually, it didn't really go up in battery life because they just made it thinner with a smaller battery.
Yeah.
So this is kind of a return to form for them. You get the USB Type-C 3.0.
So they told me that was Thunderbolt 3. I don't know if that's gone back and forth.
back then they
but,
said
they said it was Thunderbolt 3.
okay. Now, I will say that many people I have talked to have complained about the length of time for certification for Thunderbolt.
Yeah.
That's why there's only 2 motherboards from Gigabyte that have Thunderbolt certification. Nothing from Asus, nothing from MSI.
Yeah,
have
that could
Thunderbolt
very well be
certification.
the
But you would think Intel would try to get that out the door here. Now, the Surface 4 and Surface Book don't have Thunderbolt either, do they?
I
don't think they do. I only think they don't even have Type-C. Right? They only had standard.
I think that's right.
Yeah. So 2.8 pounds. I wonder if you'll be able to slide this under the door like this PC does. What commercials indicate? But we'll see.
We shall see.
We'll see. We usually get all the Lenovo hardware in, so we should get this in relatively soon.
I'm pretty excited about
I'm
this.
excited about it, yeah.
I'm in the market for a new Ultrabook in this range, and I've always liked the Yogas. I didn't like the Core M version because it was slower than my existing laptop. But
Right.
they said they really took the complaints they got were the speed and battery life.
Yeah.
And they went out on both
Okay.
those. They put in the fastest 15 watt parts they can. They put in a big battery to hopefully make the battery life better than the
Yep.
Yoga 3 with the Core M.
I want it to be. I mean, at the starting price of what is it, $11.99?
Yeah.
That's quite a bit less than where the Surface 4 or the Surface Book is at.
Yeah.
Right. We have both those coming in. They should be in early next week. But
I do
that's-
wish it had a 1080p screen option instead of a QHD.
Yeah, I agree.
I asked them about that, and they was like, well, QHD.
The WQHD is just going to take more power. Like
Yeah.
that's why I got the 1080p version of my XPS 13.
And you had to turn on scaling anyways with a
Yeah,
QHD.
I don't disagree with you there.
Yeah.
So, Silverstone Raven RVX01, an affordable new mid tower. This definitely doesn't look like that Lian Li we just saw.
No, it actually looks a lot like the RVO5 that I reviewed a few months ago. And they've not really made a lot of concessions from what I can see of the pictures. It's essentially the same design. It's still a 90-degree rotated motherboard. They've done a little bit of a different thing with the storage. You can kind of see in that photo that there are brackets sort of built into the back where you can mount either a 3.5 or 2.5 inch drive in a couple of spots, plus that little vertical 2-drive bay in the back. So you have a little bit more storage flexibility than with the RVO5, but essentially the same, except the cooling system is slightly revised. They went back to the original kind of Fortress and Raven RVO1 thing and have 3 of the fans at the bottom, the air penetrator fans,
Yep.
instead of 2 with the last generation. But they're smaller. They're 120 millimeter. So
Does it bother anybody else that this is clearly just a square steel case with plastic around it?
I think it's I mean, obviously, you're not going to see it that way when it's put together.
No, you're right.
But they have made it a lot less expensive. Like
That's true. Yeah, the original.
This is targeting like an $80 price point here.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Yep. I'll shut up. You're right. $80. I can't bitch about that.
So if it's sturdy and it looks cool from the outside, I'm okay with it at like $79.99.
Yeah.
You know.
Fair enough. GTX 980 WaterForce from Gigabyte, liquid-cooled graphics card. Here, nothing super dramatic. This is just Is this just an iteration in? Hey, we want to have a self-contained water-cooled GPU as well.
I think the important thing about this design is that they are using their own little. I don't know if it's a full cold plate or if they're actually using like little segments that are connected by heat pipes. There, it's hard to say, but
So
they
a
aren't using
full
any
coverage
fans
block.
on the actual PCB.
Okay.
So you're not using one of those hybrid designs like the recent. What was it? Not Skyhawk.
The MSI
Seahawk?
one.
Seahawk.
Seahawk. Yeah.
Was it Seahawks?
So that one is just it's kind of like the Fury X.
Right.
You just have to find a 120 millimeter fan mount somewhere, and that's it.
Right.
It's an interesting looking card.
Yeah, there's somebody in the comments that was talking about this looked like. Let me find this comment. I don't know. They didn't like the way it looked. I forget what it was, but they're talking about like looking back, like one of the original water block or like one of the original water cooled video cards. I mean, it's fine. It's whatever.
It looks like a Cooler Master cooler to me.
Very
Yeah.
much so.
Yeah.
So
One
we'll
thing
see
that
how loud
confuses
the
me-
pump is.
True.
The one thing that confuses me, I didn't realize this was nuclear powered.
Oh, is it?
Well, they describe the radiator as 45 centimeter SFP, which is spent fuel pool, isn't it?
45 centimeter SFP. I don't know.
And I'm not
Alan,
sure
what's
what SFP
SFP
is.
stand for?
Like, it's not a diameter thing.
Oh.
And I even looked it up, and the only thing I could find was spent fuel pool, where you put the rods where they get too hot.
Probably
and
not a
reactor.
spent fuel pool.
That is a pretty long graphics card if you count the pipes coming out the back.
Yeah,
That looks pretty long for a 980.
you're right. Yeah, it does. The PCB does seem to go out to the edge of the shroud at least.
It's a custom PCB too, because I didn't really show a picture of it, but they have a different set of video outputs than a stock 980.
Oh, yeah, they're awesome.
It's dual
DVIs,
DVI
one's dual
outputs
link.
in addition to the 3 display ports and the HDMI 2.0.
Okay. Well, you
And
know,
often the NVIDIA cards sort of disappoint me on the outputs, but that's impressive.
yeah. Well, they don't have to worry about exhausting any air out. So
Yeah.
True.
that's a big plus. All right. So there you go. That is the Gigabyte GTX 980 WaterForce liquid-cooled graphics card. All right, we're going to get into our hardware software picks of the week. So, Alan, whenever you're ready, come on back to the studio here. So here's my pick, and I'm going to see how this shows up on the screen here. This is called Stockplop.
I'm sorry?
I said it's called Stockplop, and this
Sounds dirty.
It does. I don't disagree with you. It is as this animation will show you, a very svelte and skinny SSD dock.
In wood.
And it's available in different colors and a couple of different patterns. It has let's scroll down here. It's got like a silver. It's got this one, the wood style. This is like bamboo, and it's got like a carbon fiber. And they're actual. I don't think it's actual. Maybe it is actual carbon fiber. I think that's what they said. Actually,
I think it was.
yeah. But the idea is really simple. I've got one here, and boom, I take out this. This is a Corsair Neutron XT 240 gig SSD, and here it is. It comes with this, and it comes with one USB micro 3.0 cable. That's pretty much it, and it's a tight fit. It only supports 7mm drives. Absolutely, there's no flex in this. This is pretty sturdy metal. You put in, even with this SSD, you got to push it in a little bit. Push it in there. It kind of looks like a deck of cards or like a wallet, I guess. And attach your USB cable, and you've got one activity and status light on there. We tested this earlier today, just real quick, on a UEFI. What did we get? 465 by 460 or something like that.
I thought it was, yeah.
Yeah,
mid-
465
mid-400s.
megabytes per second read, 460 megabytes per second write. Pretty much pretty close to what the rated specs are of the SSD.
No, it's just USB tends to cap out at that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
'Cause
USB 3.
The SSD native will do like over 500, or the writes were similar, but that SSD could read quicker than it was.
Yeah. So this is UASP.
UASP
support is in here for sure, and I think they're relatively inexpensive. Let me find the shop here and make sure. Hey,
It's probably going to be in euros. It's a
No,
German
yeah.
company.
I thought they were for sale on Amazon too. Let me look here. Amazon.com
Search
stock
Woodplop.
plop. Yeah,
Wood plop.
the one that we have is actually called
Oh,
wood
Woodplop.
plop. I'm not even making that up.
Pure plop.
I don't.
It's the second one, 'cause
Amazon.German, Amazon.UK. So wood plop. So 24 euros. What's that translate into American dollars? Like $40?
Less than that.
Less than that, 30-ish.
Okay. All right. So there you go. And like I said, the conversion rate might not be completely accurate there. But we'll have a short little news post on this sometime later this week or early next week. Just basically with a couple of pictures and a couple of benchmarks. But it's sturdy enough, protects the drive. Like if you want to throw this in your bag,
Yeah.
it's not going to be an issue.
It'd be just fine.
Yeah.
It's not going to break like the one that we had with the lock on it.
Yeah, we had the plastic
That's true.
one, and that thing just broke so quick.
This has no moving parts. So there you
There's
go.
no hinge. There's
just
no...
like the SSD. The most fragile part is that damn micro USB 3.0
Yeah, but I mean that
connector.
one's kind of beefy.
I mean, it's in there. It's fine. Just
Yeah.
don't leave the cable attached when you
Right.
throw it in your bag.
Right.
That will always end
Poorly.
That will always end poorly. Jeremy, up next, I guess.
I'm kind of cheating again this week. I'm going with something that I'm in the midst of writing a review for. But that's the Creative Sound Blaster Roar 2.
Rawr.
Pretty much about the same as the original Roar, except significantly smaller, which is kind of nice in a portable speaker. It's pretty nice. It does NFC, it does Bluetooth, it does what most wireless speakers do nowadays, where it'll act as a speakerphone for your phone.
Right.
It does have a built-in recorder in it as well, which you can record to the SD card. So you don't have to plug it into anything. And one of my favorite features is that our good friend, the Skype call testing lady, has found a new job.
Was her
Camera
voice
base on. Drop on.
nice?
Off.
I heard that voice and I'm like, wait a second, I've heard that 1,012
So-
times before.
So this is a Bluetooth speaker. It uses NFC to pair,
Yeah,
but
or
it's
Bluetooth.
also a recorder.
It is also a recorder. You can also stick it in. I haven't gotten this far yet, but you can stick it in via the USB to a computer.
Yeah.
And there's even a little graphic equalizer program you can download from
Yeah, I
Creative
saw
to
that
play with it a
here.
little bit more.
Okay.
They talk to it as if it's got 5 speakers. It doesn't. It has 3. It's got 2 tweeters that are on their own amp, a subwoofer that's on its own separate amp, and these 2 sort of channel things, which you may recognize from various Bose products on TV and stuff.
Sure.
It works, and you can even get a different sound depending on if you lay it down on its side or you stand it up on its front.
Does it when you
Little
plug it into your PC? Does it emulate a USB audio device?
Yeah. It shows up on your sound as a USB audio
That's
device.
a really
which-
cool feature to have a Bluetooth speaker, actually.
Isn't
Yeah.
it? And
And
the bastard will be charging the whole time, too.
Does
It's got DC,
like,
it's got a USB output too to like charge your phone.
6,000 milliamp hours.
does it work with that stuff like at the same time? Like it's plugged into your PC and like your phone?
I'm going to have to get further on to do it. I haven't
Okay.
actually plugged it into the PC to play with it yet.
There's a switch up here for USB audio or mass storage.
Yeah, so that's the SD card.
So you can just put an SD card in it and plug it in,
Switches it to the
and
SD
it
card.
looks like a mass storage device.
Exactly.
That's weird. That's a lot of
It's a lot
and-
of stuff.
Now here comes a drawback.
Okay.
It's $170.
Well,
Yeah.
So it is expensive
But
for
it is
one
one
of
of-
these.
it is one of those Bluetooth wireless speakers that
And
probably sounds pretty good.
So wait,
it weighs a kilo.
so it has
It's
NFC.
just over 2 pounds. Like, there are serious speakers in this.
Huh.
Does it? It doesn't actually transmit audio over NFC
No,
though.
it's
right?
just a pair.
It's just to pair it, right? That's how it communicates with the device to pair, so you don't have to like go through the Bluetooth pairing process.
Again, I've got to play with it because
Okay.
from what I sort of understand, tap it with your phone, and on the front is a button which goes between Bluetooth and phone. If I can Aim that
Yeah,
up, right?
yeah, I see it.
So in theory, the NFC will do the whole speakerphone feature.
No, well,
I've got to play with it. I haven't got that far
all right,
yet.
we'll see.
Yeah, but that's something I'm make sure if it works or not.
That's more. When I saw what it was on your list, that's more interesting than I expected it to be. I'm not gonna lie.
That was sort of my first impression too.
I'm
is,
not
it's
gonna
a wireless
lie.
speaker, yay!
I'm not gonna lie.
Wait, that's actually kind of cool.
Yeah, yeah. All right, Allyn. I guess that makes you next.
So this is a standalone app that if you're one of those handy people that runs around with a thumb drive with a little Swiss Army knife kind of tools on it, you should probably add this to your list. It's a GWX control panel.
Nice.
So you fire this thing up, and it brings up, if you scroll down a little bit, you can get to like another page worth or so. Shows you what it pops up, at least in its present version. It checks the status of some stuff and sees, and this is for a person that does not want to install Windows 10.
Clearly.
Okay, so you're on Windows 8, and you have the stupid little thing popping up from Microsoft, and either you can research which knowledge base number corresponds to the hotfix that snuck that onto your system, and by the way, there's 3 different ones, and stuff like that, or you can just get this, run it. You don't have to install this app, it just like runs, it does some checks, pops this window up, lets you know the status of those things, like is that app on your system? Is it trying to bug you? Is Windows Update equipped to like change that splash page on Windows Update? It says get Windows 10 now and all that other stuff, right? You can basically just go through and hit some buttons and turn all that crap off.
So you're on the Windows Outsider program.
Yeah, it basically turns it into the Windows Outsider program.
I like it.
It's just real handy. It just like does all that stuff for you. And, prevents that app from being able... If the app's on the system, like, I don't even think it bothers going through the trouble of uninstalling it, because that's actually kind of cumbersome the way that Microsoft has set that app to take control of a specific directory and such. It's just it's like they were really kind of backhanded the way they did it. Like, you can't manually... You have to use the control panel to remove that program from running. You cannot, like... manually just like delete it from the system. Like it stops you. Like there's just permissions and stuff that get changed and everything. Yeah, it's really annoying the way that they did it. Anyway, this thing basically shuts all that crap off. Just makes it so that the program itself can't even run if it is on your system. All that, all that kind of stuff. So if you really want to stick it to Microsoft.
Ultimate Outsider.
Yep.
Using GWX control panel, formerly GWX stopper.
And, for the few people out there that have Media Center PCs, that this thing pops up.
The 6 of you, yeah.
The 6 of us. So I
7.
just put together a Media
I
Center.
was counting you already.
I put together a Media Center PC and put Windows 8.1 on it and did the updates. And, like, it had Media Center, like, active and using a cable card tuner and everything. And the thing popped up, like, while I was watching. While I was using the app.
That's less than ideal.
Yeah, while I was using the app that Windows 10 will completely obliterate and not support and remove from your system, and it just won't work.
Right.
Like, I don't even understand why that is a possibility. Like, that should be the one check Microsoft did with this. It's like, don't bug them to install Windows 10 if, like, this is a cable card PC.
They
with
know
Windows
there's only 6 of
8.1.
you. They're not going to spend that much time on it. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Imagine how annoying that would be for the person that just doesn't know any better.
Oh, yeah.
And they just go, oh, Windows 10, install. And then, like...
Spend 87 hours troubleshooting why their card doesn't work.
And I mean, and what's worse is that you would have to basically, like, probably do a reinstall to make all that stuff work again.
Probably.
And when you reinstall Media Center Edition, you can, because of the DRM, you cannot access any of your recorded programs.
Oh, true.
So if you had a Media Center PC running
really?
for years,
Yeah.
if you had a Media Center PC running for years and you had just like all your DVR stuff, because you can add whatever hard drive size you want to those, that's what's handy about them, right? You could have years worth of your programming just like obliterated by this automatic like prompt. Hey, do you want to do this? Oh, okay. And then just like all your
What if you don't know? What if you go through the process and you install Windows 10 and it also keeps Media Center?
It doesn't.
What if it does? Have you done it?
It doesn't do that.
Try it.
I did.
There are
upgrade your system.
There are lots of foreign people.
I have. It doesn't.
Foreign?
Yeah,
They're gone.
That's what I heard too.
There are lots of foreign
Yes,
people.
thank you,
There are lots
Sebastian.
of
There are
foreign-
far
there's-
more foreign people than people in this.
There are lots of foreign
This is
people.
true. This is
that have
also
said-
true on a general level, Sebastian.
Yeah, I've done a lot of research about this, Jeremy. You're in the minority. I was as surprised as anybody else.
Damn it!
I mean,
But
technically
and I'll
for
have to look
us,
up the
Jeremy
program
is
again.
foreign,
He is.
Not to me, I'm not.
but to us,
You guys all
to the
are.
rest of us,
Yeah.
we're the majority.
We're all
here.
foreign.
You're the foreigners.
Well, if you say
But,
it like
and I'll have to look up the program.
Sebastian.
Hey, buddy, we'll build a wall.
So I had seen something on Twitter a couple days ago about somebody buying a Nexus player from a Target store for $25. Apparently, there's a bunch of reports coming in. Target is just fire sailing these things to get rid of them. Best Buy is now selling them for $49. If you go to the Google Nexus site, they're still selling it for the full $99 price. But you can buy one of these Nexus players for $50 or less now, just about anywhere. And if you're like me and are running a original Roku 2 that's really freaking slow, this would be a nice upgrade for the same price as their new gen Roku 1.
Would
Just
you would you
got a
choose
quad-
this over the new
Apple TV?
the Google one, the Chromecast? Well, I guess, so it's
It's
different,
more
different
powerful
thing.
than the
Yeah.
Chromecast.
Okay.
And it still gives you the option of hard wiring your internet connection, I believe. I would personally always want an Ethernet connection for streaming video, but
Oh, is there Ethernet on that?
I don't think
Watch
there is.
doesn't have it. Okay,
I
so
don't think it has it.
then I'm not sure what the advantage is other than the faster SoC, because they
you might
don't
be able
really
to connect
release.
a USB Ethernet adapter
Maybe.
because that's for power.
USB is probably for flashing it in case you need to
Nah,
Yeah.
flash from a computer.
nah.
That's why they put those on those.
It's a pretty sweet looking hockey puck though.
But it's cool looking.
Yeah.
It's $49. I don't know. But now that I know it doesn't have wired Ethernet, I don't care as much.
Damn it.
It's his anti-pick of the week now.
I don't know. Look. No, look. There's an ad right up here for the Chromecast, right at the top of this Best Buy
How
page.
sneaky.
How sneaky. Shop now. Okay, I would like to do that. Yeah, thank you. All right, so that's going to be it for the show this week, guys. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. PCPro.com/podcast is where you can find all of our back episodes, our RSS feeds for the MP3 downloads. Maybe I need to get with Audible and Amazon, see if we can offer a WhisperSync version of the podcast.
Podcast?
All right,
To
you're
go
watching it
along
on
with the book
YouTube.
version?
You're watching it on YouTube.
Well, the newsletter.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, the
We
newsletter.
actually have somebody type all this out.
Sure.
And
Yeah, transcriptions are available usually within 48 hours of the podcast going up.
Just email.
it's actually 4 to 6 weeks.
They're
Thank
actually
you.
on Twitter.
Just email speak@pcpro.com.
Yeah.
Yes.
Also, you could use the closed captions in YouTube and just record all that.
Okay, I will
That would be
screen
good.
capture the closed captions off YouTube. That
they must
becomes
be
the
awesome.
transcription. No problem.
Yeah, screen caps. So like
Email
every
me for a
frame-
screencast of the podcast with the closed captions.
Keyframes are extra.
Oh, that would be awful. So PCPro.com/podcast, and then obviously go to PCPro.com, read all the reviews and news and crap that we post there. All of our videos are at YouTube.com/PCPro. And again, if you want to hang out with us when we record the show live, it's PCPro.com/live. There you go.
And if you're listening to this on a rerun, you will probably see a pretty important storage review go up.
Okay.
Just
I-
throwing
On
that-
that note,
All right. There's they've already announced a product,
They did. But the review's coming.
so we can't just say what it is.
Okay, it's 950 Pro.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
The next SSD that will be coming out, we'll have a review. So check that out if you haven't already, and then we'll talk about it on next week's podcast. How about that?
Sounds good.
All right. That's it. I'm Ryan Strout.
I'm Jeremy Hellstrom.
I'm Sebastian
He
Peak.
wasn't ready, and I'm Malventano.
I thought Alan was going.
Yep.
Well,
He wasn't ready.
We mixed things up.
Caught him off guard.
Yeah.
He was picking his nose. We wanted to get him on video.
Oh.
It happens. Bye, guys.
See ya.
Bye.